A carb kit's like 80 bucks for the things. Part 2 of this video, starting now. Uh, Apparently my phone likes to kick things off, or kick off videos at 25-ish minutes. So this is why some of my videos go longer than I originally intend them to be. This video, I never really had a limit for how long it's going to be. It's just more me venting and talking about all my ongoing projects. I am still dealing with a partial torn rotator cuff. I'm still going to physical therapy. Kicked it around 2 times a week rather than 3. So I'm going Wednesdays and Fridays at the end of the day. Trying to be at work as much as I can doing stuff. Also why I had my dad come and help me pull this motor assembly out, because I really didn't want to break the truck. And as you can see, I pulled the grill out of the Ranger. 1, because I really didn't want to bust it, and 2, because they are hard to find. That's an original Ford grill that was in it, and it's already been repaired a few times. I had to fix it because the tabs and stuff were broken on it. It's not the original one to this truck. The original one to this truck was actually black, and I know that's all the rage now, black on black on black. You know, make it look like it's something out of Batman, which it's not my thing. I don't care for all blacked out. I like chrome and black. I like bright and dark kind of. It makes it more eye-catching. Black on black just looks like, I don't know. Yes, they can look good, but I don't know. It's bland. That's just the best way to put it. If you don't want to stand out, a black on black vehicle, fine. If that's what you like, cool. But I prefer to have something a little bit more flashy, shows off a little bit more. You know, maybe that says something about my character I like to be paid attention to. Look at me, I'm on YouTube, you know. But anyway, the whole point of it is, I said, I like the old school look. I've always liked chrome. Chrome's always been a cool thing, at least to me anyway. So that's why this truck has stayed chrome and black, or why I made it back chrome and black. Because this truck originally had a black grille, black trim around the windshield. It did have chrome mirrors. I don't believe those were factory to the truck, because these Rangers did have a black mirror option with those Western style mirrors. Now, they used to sell them, but I haven't seen them in quite a long time, to be honest with you. So where they ended up off of this truck, I have no idea. Maybe it never had them. Maybe they had some option packages, and that was one of them they just didn't have. You know, maybe they decided, no, we'll just go with the chrome mirrors. We don't care about black. They were just trying to make it cheap. This truck did have aftermarket rims and tires on it when I got it. Those are currently on my motor trailer. They're 14, so they're kind of hard to get tires and stuff for. I mean, not impossible, but I wanted to go to a more popular size, so I went with 15s. That's why I got the very 70s, 80s look going on there. Small tires on the front, and then the big tires on the back. And I say big, but you know, they're 6-inch wide tires on the front, and they're 8-inch wide tires on the rear. And you got the stink bugs slanted look, which I've always thought looked kind of neat. Certain vehicles pulled off better than others. My truck looks a little cartoonish, but that was kind of the idea behind the truck. It's supposed to make it gives it like a big personality, like a Chihuahua, if you want to think of it like that. It's really small but very fierce. That's kind of the mindset behind the truck. So, and the newest thing, which I can't remember if I ever posted a video about, I can show it in the picture here. That logo there, that is a Hellcat Panther tank destroyer platoon patch. My grandpa was in World War II, and that's the unit that he served in. I don't remember the exact unit. He's been gone for quite a while, unfortunately, so I can't ask him anymore. Well, in fact, he was gone before I was born. But anyway, that was his unit patch back in World War II. So why did I put it on the Ranger? You know, the truck's not a, you know, ironically, you got a Dodge Challenger sitting right back there, which you think, well, that's got a Hellcat in it. You should do it with that. That car's not a Hellcat, it's an RT. So it didn't feel like that was suitable to put on there. Plus, it's a black car, and I'd have to, well, I could have put a background or something on it. But anyway, it just, to me, didn't see fitting. Okay, anyway, trying to tie it all in. The truck is called the Little Bohemian. My grandpa was Czech. Bohemian is derived from Bohemia, you know, Czech, Slovakia, all that area there. and that's where Bohemian comes from. It is kind of used as a derogatory term, like saying you're a mutt or a mixed breed. And so it's not exactly, a lot of your native people aren't a huge fan of that name. They look at it as a derogatory term, like making fun of somebody or talking down to them. But here in the U.S., obviously, it's a little bit more beloved. It's kind of like, it's a slang term as like, trying to think the exact what do you want to call it? The exact use for it. We kind of use it as a term of endearment. Like that guy's such a bohemian. Normally associated with, he likes to drink beer, he likes to have fun. That's kind of and sometimes it could be looked at, depending on the people, could be he's a hard-headed, strong-willed person. That can also be how bohemian is used. But in this case, it's probably the first one I mentioned, of course, the fun-loving, likes to drink, have a good time sort of thing. And it ties in well with my grandpa and, our family. I won't say, I'm not afraid to drink things, we'll just put it that way. So just, not that I'm an alcoholic or anything like that, so don't get it the wrong way. But I do enjoy the occasional Pivo, for those that know what Pivo is. So, anyway, that's kind of a family tie-in there, and I always thought it was neat. I always thought that the patch that he has, or had, I should say, it was always kind of a unique looking thing. It is not a Black Cat fireworks emblem. For those of you that are looking at it going, that looks like the Black Cat firework emblem. If you look closely, maybe pause the video. It is actually it's basically a Black Panther head on tank tracks. If you look really closely, you can see they have kind of like a spiky kind of looking. It's actually an embroidered patch that went on the shoulder of a military uniform in World War II. So that's where it came from. And I just thought it was kind of a neat tie-in. So anyway, that's where we're at right now. Project update time. Next thing I'll probably end up doing, I'm going to have to chest fit the transmission, which I'm going to need some help doing, which kind of sucks because, again, by myself, I can't just do that on a whim. Partially toward the rotator cuff, and I can't exactly pick a transmission up and stick it into the engine bay. You could say, why don't you slide it underneath there? Well, as you see, the truck is sitting on the ground, and it's not exactly level right there. I did that because I was hoping it would be easier to pull the engine and transmission out, because the back end would have been lower, so you could angle the transmission a little bit more. Well, it didn't really work quite how I had it planned. But, of course, now the truck is inoperable, and I can't really move it by myself. I probably could if I figured out a way to pull it with a lawnmower or something, but either way, I would have to jack up the truck quite a bit, and I don't have any big jack stands here. I have some smaller ones, but they won't get it up high enough to get that big 5-speed underneath there. Plus, I can't lift that 5-speed by myself. That's not a light transmission. I do have a transmission jack at my parents' house I could use, but that is not here. And the unfortunate design flaw of the Mazda 5-speeds, they do not have a flat bottom. And I'll show you right here. This is the one that came out of the Ranger, which is very similar to the F-150 one. The bottom of the transmission case, you can see that there, kind of comes to a angle like, like a peak almost, if you want to think of it like that. So there's no flat spot for it to sit. Yes, I could shove some 2x4s on there and get creative that way, but it does make it harder to do by yourself when you're fumbling around on the ground trying to do things. Yes, if I had a big jacked, lifted up pickup, it wouldn't be a big deal. Like even that blue F-150 that I have, that one probably wouldn't be as bad to pull out. I could probably, not entirely sure, but I think, maybe I'm wrong. Well, I don't know for sure on that truck. I might be being optimistic about that one. It's got a body lift on it, but not a suspension lift. So I'm not sure if the transmission could go out underneath the frame if I pull the transmission out. But it does sit up higher. But regardless of all that, it's normally a job for two people to do, just for safety reasons. And I know some people are like, "Oh, I've done this by myself," and trust me, I've done it too. It can be done. I just don't want to get hurt. There's nobody out here to call 911 if a transmission falls on me or something bad happens, or bleeding profusely. I prefer to have somebody around to at least get emergency people here if necessary. Not that I'm planning on that happening. It's just better safe than sorry kind of thing. And I already got enough medical crap I'm dealing with my freaking shoulder and all the fun stuff, all that workman's comp stuff. I don't want to add hurting myself, having a transmission fall on my head or something to the list. I don't need that happening. So anyway, not to be morbid, but or overshare, I guess. I'd rather not. So yeah, the funny thing is the car I'm trying to sell, that Challenger right now there, what you're seeing is like, wow, that thing's dirty. Yeah, I live on gravel, so it gets dirty. I try to wash it as much as I can, but sometimes things just don't happen. And yeah, that car, I don't know. You think the Challengers would be kind of a neat, hot selling car, but nobody's really that interested in it, which is kind of surprising. It's just shy of 45,000 miles on it. It's a 6-speed manual, 5.7 Hemi. It runs good. It drives good. Everything works on it. It's got some minor cosmetic issues going on with it, but nothing that would really scare people away. Like I said, I'm asking $19,000 for it. So, and I know some might be scared off because it's a manual, and I understand that. But at the same time, if you're wanting to learn to drive a manual, that's a fun car to learn because it gets up and goes. It's a far cry from this Ranger when it comes to, like, don't get me wrong, the Ranger's probably more forgiving to learn how to drive a manual on because it's like, oh, you don't go that fast kind of thing. But yeah, and also if you actually bump into something, this truck might take it a little better than that car. But either way, it's kind of sad because actually a lot of people are losing their interest in this sort of thing that I'm making videos on, which maybe it's just the lazy society. People don't like doing this stuff anymore. And I mean, I admit sometimes there are days where I just don't like working on this stuff. I'd rather sit in there and watch YouTube and, whatever, talk to people, that sort of thing, than actually, drink beer, that sort of stuff. Just avoid working on stuff, which, this truck was a bit of a struggle for me to get started on. Well, mainly because I hurt my shoulder, and then two, because it's a big job. It's not for the faint of heart. You have to have drive, you have to have ambition to work on this stuff. And sometimes I admit I am very lacking in that department. So right now I'm just trying to get the drive and ambition to get this project completed. But problem is with doing projects by yourself, things get pushed back quite often. Because a lot of times you get overwhelmed and you're worried things aren't going to go well. And you like to push it off, but time is of the essence, as they say. I'm trying to get people lined up to help me out. They have their own schedules too, and then a lot of times they just aren't feeling it. My dad, he's old enough to retire, but he's still working 4 days a week, and he's got Fridays off, things like that. And he just so happened to come out Saturday for me and give me a hand for a couple hours, but he doesn't live that close. He's about 15-minute drive from here, so it's not exactly just hop, skip, and jump just to come over. So, and he's got his own ambitions and things he wants to do as well before he's laid up and crippled and can't do anything, which I know the feeling, because he even stated when he was over here, I'm not crawling underneath that truck, you better do it. And I said, don't worry, I understand. Like, I'll do what I can. And that's when we found out that the bolt was seized in the in the transmission mount, which I'm like, no, we don't need this. And then we came up with solution number 2 was pull the other bolt out, push the transmission cross member down, pull the engine and transmission out. And it took a little bit of doing, but we got it out of there. The engine was like no joke, like this. The engine and transmission was no joke like this coming out, because there wasn't enough room to get it out of there, because it was catching on the firewall. It was catching on the front. It's where the twin I-beam meet. Let's see if we can... this brace right here. It was the transmission mount was catching really bad on there, and then of course this ridge up here was catching on the shifter. There's a little nub on top of the shifter, which I can show you, I guess. If you take the shifter off, get that little nub there. That was getting caught on the firewall, and kept having to pry on it, push on it, and then I finally was able to wiggle it and twist it out of there. It's going to be the same story for that V8 transmission. Hopefully that doesn't become too bad. But anyway, really just trying to get stuff, kind of get the ball rolling finally. It's going to be interesting trying to get this transmission thing figured out. From what I've been told, it should fit in there. But I will have to modify the floor pan a little bit. But that truck, it isn't anything that special. If you saw the floor when I first got this truck, it was bad. There was all kinds of rust holes in it. I had welded the whole driver's side floor pan all the way up to where the seat mounts. It was that far gone, and then all the way up by the pedals. There was just pinholes everywhere with rust. Passenger side floorboard had a bigger hole in it. Welded that up, and that was about the extent on the passenger side. But like I said, it had plenty of rust in it. I'm guessing the windshield must have been leaking or something, and water would run down and ran right down the A-pillar. The rest of the inside of the A-pillar out. I had to patch the A-pillar up. Like I said, like I said, that flip cam app video I was talking about. There's all kinds of pictures and stuff if you guys are interested in that sort of thing. Like I said, I am not a body guy at all. I happen to work at a shop that there is a body guy there. I am not a body guy myself. I can do some stuff like welding and stuff. I won't like shy away from it, but I'm not a professional. I can do exhaust, that sort of stuff. And by exhaust I mean like putting on R&R parts. I'm not bending and doing that sort of stuff, although I will say, if given the right materials, I can make exhaust. I won't make headers. I can show you here. This is the exhaust I pulled off the Ranger. This is stainless steel exhaust, and I am kind of proud of this. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to reuse it because, well, V8 versus 4-cylinder exhaust is not going to be the same. For all those wondering what kind of exhaust this Ranger had on originally, I'll show you right here. This is the header setup. I did not make the header, so for those of you wondering, up to basically that weld point, I didn't make this part. This was an eBay Chinesium header thing. I had to bash it to make it fit. It didn't fit super great. I ended up welding this 45-degree angle turn down on it because originally it just had a flat, no flange exhaust on it because it was made for like a circle track car or drag car. And obviously that's not what this was intended to be. I ended up welding this 3-bolt flange onto it. And then here's the part I'm proud of because I made all this. I know it's not anything special to probably some of you, but I thought it was pretty cool for a Ranger pickup. Alright, here, and it is kind of dirty, but it's been on there for 6 years now. It's probably one of the first things I did to it. Anyway, up on the front, this is all stainless steel other than the flanges. The flanges are not stainless, unfortunately. I couldn't find any stainless steel 3-bolt flanges. And this is 3-inch exhaust. That's stress. And it's big for a Ranger, as you probably know, because most Ranger pickups have like inch and a half maybe exhaust on it. So yeah, this is a pretty big exhaust for a Ranger. It had a very unique sound. It actually has 2 glass packs on it, which is more than it would have came with. So it wasn't as loud as some people would think, but it did get quite loud when you got on it. So anyway, here's our 3-inch stainless steel flex pipe. Connected to a straight piece of pipe welded to a tube, another short piece of pipe. You got our, I think, 12-inch long glass pack, then a 45. Then we got, I believe that's a 10-inch long glass pack, and then I got a custom chisel tip exhaust that I made. I cut it to make it match the angle of the truck, which it was kind of rough. If I would have had a chop saw, yeah, I did not have a chop saw. I was doing all this with an angle grinder. It was rough because I was doing this back when I was living at my parents' place, and my dad being a welder, he does most of his work at work. He has a welder and stuff at home, you know, cut off wheel, that sort of stuff. He doesn't even own a Sawzall. So there you go. That just shows you the type of work that I'm able to do. And I wasn't about to go buy a bunch of tools, which now granted I have quite a bit of those now, but as being somebody that's, you know, more capable than well, say my dad. My dad's not a mechanic. My dad's a welder fabricator. That's what he does. He's a professional. He's been doing it for 40 plus years, and he's good at it. If you want somebody to weld something, hands down, awesome person to deal with. You want somebody to change oil, put tires on your car, do brakes, talk to me. That's more my wheelhouse. That's the sort of thing I do. Or, you know, pull a 80s Ranger engine out. 2 hours I had that thing out of there. That was pretty good for one guy doing it. And that said, that motor's been in there for probably 6 years, 7 years, 6, 7 years. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I put it in there. And it ran and drove like it should. So, and like I said, when I bought this Mustang engine that was in it, it didn't have the intake on it. It didn't have the distributor on it. The distributor and intake and carburetor, or no, sorry, the intake was there, but the carburetor was missing because the guy wanted to save the carburetor. I ended up using my old distributor off of my 83. So sadly, that motor I pulled out of there no longer has a distributor in it, or carburetor for that matter. The intake is still there somewhere floating around, but doesn't matter. But anyway, there's a lot of changes going on with this truck, and hoping things go smoothly. But you know how that goes. I'm sure I'll find problems. But the biggest one is going to be, is, in my opinion, well, there's two big hurdles that I know I'm going to have to deal with. The first one is the transmission, getting things to go into the floorboard. I'll have to cut the floor pan out, etc. Figure out a shifter solution. That I consider that one big thing. You know, there's multiple parts to it. But anyway, the number 2 is the motor that I'm using is out of a F-150. I am not using Explorer or Mustang accessory drives for it. They're all the full length snout, pulleys, all that stuff. It's all out of an F-150. So I'm probably going to run into some clearance issues. But I have talked to people. They say they have done it. They say it's tight, but it will work. So I'm under the impression that it should work. I do not have a radiator for this truck yet. My plan is to get a 4-liter radiator for a early 90s, late 80s Ranger when they first came out with the 4-liter. I plan on sticking that in there and crossing my fingers. Hopefully it's big enough and it doesn't overheat. I'm going to have to run an electric cooling fan. Unfortunately, due to an oversight on my part, having not messed with this truck in a while, kind of forgot a few things. Electric cooling fan, I originally was hoping I could shove it on the front of the radiator, but this guy's in the way, so I cannot do that. So I'm going to have to shoehorn it in between the accessory pulleys and cross my fingers, and hopefully it'll fit in there. So anyway, guys, thanks again for watching. Said like, comment, subscribe, do all those things, you know, notifications if you want to get more videos from me. Like I said, I don't post a ton, but when I have something I think is noteworthy to make a video about, I do. So thanks again, guys, for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.